Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 19th Dare County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's my honor to have with us this evening Reverend David Fryer. He's here for our invocation. Reverend, please come forward. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. May we gather in prayer. O Lord, you have created us in all our diversity, and you have placed us in community, in particular this beautiful oceanfront community called Dare County. We have been blessed in many ways. We are gathered here this evening to do the work of government. The challenge of bringing together this wonderful diversity into a nurturing community, a place where all can live and grow. This evening, be with those who have been elected to serve our community as its governors. Keep them mindful of the task of unifying, caring, and nurturing each of our fellow citizens. Be with them in their deliberations. Give them ears to hear clearly, minds to think clearly, and a spirit of service dedicated to the common good. At the same time, be with all our fellow citizens. May we be responsive to the leadership of these, our elected leaders. May we also share in our personal lives the same tasks and goals that we have entrusted to these, our leaders. May we be blessed, and may we all serve the common good. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. May we stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just like to make the record reflect that Commissioner Tobin and Vice Chairman Overman have excused absences. They're out of town and not able to be with us this evening. Before I turn the agenda back over to the county manager, I'd like for us to have a moment of silence. One of our dear friends' son, Matt Walker's son, fell asleep at the wheel and was killed recently, and my heart goes out to him and his family. A fine young man that it's so sad to lose at such a young age. So I would ask that we have a moment of silence and you keep Sam and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. County manager.
Good evening. Yes, sir. Item 1 on the agenda is the chairman's update.
Thank you very much, County Manager. I've got just a few items. It's been a couple of busy weeks since our last meeting. First and foremost, what a great day it was Saturday, February the 9th. Great day in the sense of a day of celebration for the bridge ceremony completion. Wasn't the best weather by any means. It was very chilly, downright cold. But we had a fabulous turnout. I want to thank NCDOT for this setting this up for us to have a celebration, and I also want to thank staff and Dorothy and our Public Works folks for helping out, providing chairs and the PA systems and our Public Information Office and our IT folks and for handling all of that.
Mr. Chairman, I was also in attendance with you
Yes.
at the ceremony, and I was going to offer a thought for Dorothy to record for future events. When you elected to toss the memorial wreath off the bridge, I would just offer not to throw it into the wind and watch it come right back on our heads. So I thought I would memorialize that in the record for future.
I knew I'd catch heck over that one, but in my defense, I was the short guy on that. Alan was on one end, and I was on the other, and when we threw that thing, it came right back at us. So,
Pass that along.
Absolutely.
There was a small group of us watching you approach the windward side of the bridge, and we thought, why are they going to the windy side? Okay.
Every one of us here was in attendance, and Danny, thank you for that invocation as well, and that message. But just a great day. I don't have any actual facts of the numbers, but if you look, it had to be 1,000 people or more that took part in that. And by the way, I want to set the record straight. I walked from the tent to the top when I saw a passenger van with some commissioners sitting in it in nice temperatures. But I do know that Commissioner Bateman ran it. So, and I walked it. So, in defense of Steve, I don't know if you walked it.
I walked
but
it.
I thought you walked it.
I walked it.
And I don't know about you.
No, I have my youngins.
Yeah,
I walked it.
so this one on the end down here.
I was walking in my mind.
sitting in the back. Great day, though. What a great celebration and a great day, and we hope to see that open very, very soon. There'll be a formal celebration here sometime into March, maybe 1st of April with the governor, but look forward to that. Recently, we had our 5-on-5 with the Board of Education on Monday, the 11th of February. We welcomed Commissioner Ross to that 5-on-5 meeting, who took Commissioner Shea's spot. And we just met with the Board of Education 5-on-5 to reiterate our commitment to them and the funding formula that we have in place to support our schools. I've said this many times, I'll say it again, we support our kids and our teachers and our school board, and we fund almost $23 million of their $53 million budget. So I'm proud of what this board does and the support that we give the Board of Education to support our number one objective in this county, and that's to educate our kids. Most of you are aware that about a year or so ago, we established a dog park on Roanoke Island, and this board supported that, and it's been in place. And with the newly agreed upon CIP program that we have to establish a new SPCA facility, in all likelihood, that building is certainly going to be on that spot. So the county manager and myself met with some concerned citizens of Roanoke Island to let them know, reassure them that the Roanoke Island Festival Park will continue to be a part of that, a piece of some of that property over there, and we'll continue to be committed to having a dog park over there. It may be some inconveniences to them during construction period, where some things might have to be moved around or maybe even shut down altogether. But we just met with them just to reassure them that we would certainly continue that, and that was our goal, to make sure that that park continued over there. This past Saturday, I served as an ex officio officer on REHA, Roanoke Island Historic Association. We had another one of our meetings this past Saturday on Roanoke Island, and I can tell you that the Lost Colony is gearing up for its its season coming up. They were actually doing auditions this past Saturday. So we look forward to another successful year of the Lost Colony. And if you haven't been, in a few years, I encourage you to go. It's the place changed somewhat, a little more modernization, but it's a great venue, and I encourage you to attend. I think a lot of folks are aware that I'm also a trustee on the College of the Albemarle, and this board once again has approved the CIP program to extend the facilities here on Roanoke Island to build a flex classroom space, and we're close to approaching to get some things done with that. I've been going around promoting with all the PTAs throughout the county, and I'll be hitting some of our civic organizations and groups about the importance of the opportunity for our kids in Dare County to be able to go to COA at a much lesser cost, about $6,500 a year. I mean, to get an associate's degree as opposed to going to ECU for just a freshman, sophomore year for $37,000 and a freshman, sophomore year at North Carolina State for $42,000 and $31,000 at Appalachian. So the list goes on, and it's advantageous for our kids to try to get their associates here and there. And another thing that we're concerned about is by building these facilities that our kids won't have to go to Elizabeth City to take classes. They can stay right here in Dare County and finish their associate's degree. And certainly last but not least, Commissioner Ross and myself this afternoon attended the Community Foundation annual meeting. Great work that organization does. They've got over $16 million in their fund. The numbers today were announced that they spent approximately $160,000 last year on scholarships to some 80 students. Last year they spent approximately $600,000 in community grants. And since their inception in 1983, they've given out over $6 million in grants to the community. So great work that they're doing. They continue to do that. They continue to raise money. They'll continue to give more and more scholarships and continue to give out as many grants as they possibly can throughout the community. So very, very strong organization, great group of people, and it was very, very nice luncheon to hear that annual report and see the good work that they're doing. So with that being said, County Manager, that completes the Chairman's comments.
Chairman, that brings us to item 2 on the agenda. Item 2 is public comment. Ladies and gentlemen, now's the time that's been set aside for public comment. If you have public comment and you've not signed up, please raise your hand. When I call you, recognize you, please come to the podium, state your name. You have 5 minutes. The green light will come on. When your time begins, a yellow light will come on when you have about a minute left, and when the red light comes on, you need to conclude your remarks. If you're here to speak to the water main extension for Leslie Lane, or if you're here to speak to the Avon zoning map amendment, please wait. Those are specific items on the agenda, and we'll come to those, and you'll get an opportunity to speak at that time. With those things said, is there any public comment tonight? I think I have Laura Lee DiBernardo.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Lorelei DiBernardo, and I represent the Dare County League of Women Voters. It's that time of year, guys. I'm here to present the 2019 Citizens Guide, published by the League since 1988. They're distributed annually to government and business offices throughout Dare County. We also publish a Spanish version, which is still at the printers, so to speak, but it's coming soon as well. Both versions contain contact information for state, local, and national governmental agencies, voting information, and emergency numbers, and of course, a great deal more. Our guide is published under the auspices of the State League of Women Voters Education Foundation, and we want to acknowledge, first of all, Dare County for their generous contribution, and other local municipalities and businesses for donating toward our publication expenses. Donor information is listed on the back cover of the guide, and we also want to acknowledge the support of many of your staff members throughout the county who provided updated information for this year's version. We have printed 7,000 this year, and they're being distributed by league members from Duck to Hatteras, Roanoke Island, and the mainland. They are available in the libraries, post offices, the Bomb Center, Fessenden, as well as town and county offices. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed, active participation in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Publishing this guide is part of our continued commitment to provide information to our community's voters. Membership in the League is open to anyone of voting age, male or female. New members are always welcome, and we thank you very much for your support and for this opportunity. Thank you.
Laura, thank you. That's always a great tool to have. I use it religiously. It's a great reference. And thank you all for doing that annually. It really
Thank you.
really is a nice.
It actually should say that we have it on our website as well. It's available there as well. So.
Great. Thank you.
Is there other public comment this evening? Anyone else here for public comment? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the podium.
Welcome, Ms. Alexander.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Alexander, Kill Level Hills, North Carolina. I'm just here tonight just to let everybody know that tomorrow evening, February 20th at 6 p.m. at the Outer Banks Brewing Station, Surfrider Foundation, along with Not the Answer North Carolina, will be holding not only a general meeting, but also a photo shoot. If you may recall some years ago, the last time that we were fighting against offshore drilling here on the Outer Banks, that same group had arranged a campaign of photographs of people. Oil jobs are estimates, our jobs are real. If you may remember that campaign in the past, they're doing an updated version. And so I just wanted to make everybody aware, both the commissioners and anybody who's watching or here in the audience, of that opportunity. It's 6 to 9 at the Outer Banks Brewing Station. And again, that's held by Surfrider Foundation and Not the Answer North Carolina. And I just think it's a great opportunity for anybody that is interested in the ongoing fight against offshore drilling to participate, and I'll be there. So, thank you.
Super. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that, making the public aware of that.
Other public comment this evening? Is there public comment in Buxton?
Oh, my God.
Yes. Our first speaker is Jason Collier.
Hold on in Buxton 1 second. Okay, we're ready. Go ahead. Please state your name, and again, you have 5 minutes.
My name is Jason Collier. I live in Frisco, and I'm the one that has started the Keep It Bonner page that I imagine everyone's aware of at this stage. And before I get into that, I do want to say thank you for what you all do. I recognize that it's an impossible task to keep all people happy at all times, and it's a challenge, and I appreciate the work you do for the county. I started the Keep It Bonner page after becoming aware of the renaming issue on a number of the social media sites here on the island, and as well as conversation with locals. I attended the February, is that me or is that? I attended the February 4 meeting here, and was expected to see more comment or discussion based on everything that I was seeing here on the island. The next day, articles started hitting the press that read, obviously, the results, that there was the 3-2 vote, and that the motion required a unanimous vote to proceed. And the articles at that time kind of read as though the issue was dead. And then a couple days later, the same articles came out with a little different read, and that it wasn't unanimous, but maybe it was going to continue on. And then very quickly, a couple days after that, it was articles hit that the state had already taken it up, and they voted unanimously on it, and that was just flying in completely in contrast of what the discussion was here on the island and what I was hearing and seeing from everyone. So I started that page on a Friday afternoon, and by that Sunday, we had about 600 folks following it. The intent being that those following it is a show of support for not renaming the bridge. On the Wednesday the 13th, we launched our own poll, giving 2 options: either keeping the name the same or renaming it for Mark Basnight. And within 3 days, we had over 2,000 votes. As I'm standing here right now, we've got 2,400 votes, 2,200 in favor of not renaming, and 249 who voted to rename it for Mr. Basnight. So, Mr. Chairman, on the 4th, you gave a very impassioned speech about your colleague who's retiring. I enjoyed hearing it. It was you spoke of friendship and character and integrity, and you did it in a way that showed me that you are a man of character and integrity, because you can't wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and put together the talking points that you did without knowing something about it. And I would venture to guess that we'd be in agreement when I say that our character and our integrity is built not during the times of our success or when we get it right, but it comes in our failures and the times that we get it wrong, and it's built in how we show people how we go about making it right. And I feel confident that in standing here tonight, I've got people standing behind me that can check in if they disagree, but I feel confident that I speak for the roughly 1,300 supporters of our page and the 2,200 people that have voted to not name it. I feel confident that I speak for them when I say that you got this one wrong, from the rollout through what appears to be the pushing it through despite not getting the unanimous votes that you needed supposedly to get it done, to what appears at this time to be a not necessarily caring about the voice that's been raised down here. And I would say, I don't know that I speak for everyone in this, I would say personally, I feel like you've got a unique opportunity to perhaps build a lot of goodwill with the people of this island if you find a way to get it right from this point forward. How much time do I have left? So I figured I'd be out of time by now. The point I want to end with, and I want to make crystal clear, is that everybody down here is thankful for that bridge, and they're thankful, and I can't rattle off all the parties that were involved in it. Everybody down here is thankful for it. They're thankful for everything that's been done to get it. The frustration down here lies in the sense that the sentiment of those closest to the ground here are those who are the most directly impacted by it, that we don't have a voice and that no one cares really to hear and listen to what's going on down here. So, but I don't want there to be any confusion about the thankfulness for the bridge. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kite.
Is there other public comment?
Yes. Next is Miss Linda Browning.
Welcome, Ms. Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Woodard. And I live in Frisco. So the couple were sitting at the dinner table with their 6-year-old son, who had never said a word in all his young years. They started to eat when the boy threw down his fork, spit out the mouthful of food, and exclaimed, "This is terrible." The parents were stunned. The mom said, "Johnny, you can talk. Why haven't you ever spoken?" Johnny said, "Because everything was fine until now." This is the first time I've spoken at a commissioners meeting because everything was fine until now. While I'm not here representing Hatteras Island, my remarks will echo the prevalent opinions of my island community about the renaming of the New Bonner Bridge and the manner in which it was decided. If you had been sincere in your efforts to garner input regarding the name, you would have made it clear on the county website that you were counting actual votes, not simply looking for suggestions. In addition, you would have sent an email to the residents in your database who've signed up for notices and bulletins from the county telling us about the form, and you would have made the form available on paper to those who are not online. There are approximately 36,000 people in Dare County. Only 366 of them who filled out your official form submitted the name Bass Night. That's just 1% of county residents. And yet, Mr. Woodard, you've been quoted as saying that those responses are the will of the people. Had social media been used to engage Dare County residents in submitting name suggestions, you no doubt would have received at least as many responses as the Outer Banks Voices poll, in which over 3,000 voices spoke. But because that poll was something you did not initiate, you have discounted those votes just as you have discounted poll results on the Facebook page Keep It Bonner, as well as the one on the Island Free Press, both of which support by a huge majority, maybe 8 or 9 to 1, keeping the Bonner name. Mr. Bateman, you made the suggestion to call the structure the Mark Bass Night Bridge. Were any of you at that time aware that the 70-mile stretch of highway from Whalebone Junction to the Ocracoke Ferry are already named the Mark Bass Night Highway? Isn't that enough of a memorial to the former senator's distinguished contributions? Mr. Bass Night himself is quoted in a 2012 article in Coastal Review Online that he, quote, didn't want to be put on a pedestal, end quote. And yet here we are 7 years later, and you're putting him on a pedestal that's 90 feet tall. All that aside, NCDOT requires an application for a new bridge name that needs unanimous vote by the local government. Your vote was split and you sent your recommendation to the state anyway. That says a lot about how badly you want the name. And may I point out that it is Bass Night country up north of the bridge. While Bass Night may be Dare County's favorite son, we Hatteras Islanders feel like the county's red-haired stepchildren. We have no municipal pull. Now, I'm not here to accuse any of you, honest, of being good old boys or perpetuating that good old boy network. But it does appear that you do not understand what this bridge means to us. Danny, you had it right when you said to the Sentinel, the Outer Banks Sentinel, this bridge is about as close to a living, breathing thing as you're going to have when it comes to infrastructure. That bridge is a landmark known to millions of people by the name of Bonner Bridge. More importantly, it's a part of Hatteras Island's history, our tradition. It's of major importance to us who cross it every day to go to doctors, schools, meetings, and most important of all, it's our way home, our way back, a part of our way of life and even our death. Commissioners, I'm here to ask you to rescind the resolution you submitted to requesting that the New Bonner Bridge be named after Bass Night and that you resubmit a resolution transferring the old name of the old Bonner Bridge to the New Bonner Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moon.
Our next speaker is Ann Vroman.
I didn't get the last name. Would you repeat it?
My last name is Vroman, V as in Victor, R-O-M-A-N.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Berman.
you may remember me from the cement plant debacle. I don't have anything prepared. I just came to speak in support of keeping the bridge named Bonner. I often feel that we are treated like the poor stepchildren. I find that, the communities up the beach have made resolutions within their own boards recommending that the bridge be named Bass Night. But yet it's funny because some of those communities won't even allow us access to their beach further up. But I think that it's a travesty that we are being ignored. The turnout tonight, there's probably more people in this room than have shown up in a long time. And the polls that have been conducted by the various groups here have all been in support of. I know that Jason shared with us that of the 240 odd votes that supported the name Bass Night, that there was only a handful when they tracked their actual address who were from this island. The rest of them lived off island. It is our bridge and our wishes should be respected. I would like to thank you, though, for providing us with the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rick Shafton.
Welcome, Mr.
Good evening.
Shafton.
Great, thank you, Commissioner, Chairman Woodard, and thank you, commissioners, for the time and listening to what we have to say out here. I think the speakers have all said it pretty accurately how people feel, and I've only lived here 4 years, but I got a real sense pretty quickly that there is a disconnect between Hatteras Island and the rest of the county, and unfortunately, this whole thing really illustrates that. But what's even worse is that our one representative on the board very strenuously said this isn't what people in Hatteras Island want. People in Hatteras Island want the new bridge to be called the Bonner Bridge. And yet the board ignored that. And now, because of that, the state is going to move full speed ahead, naming a bridge that people who use the bridge and live on the island don't want. I mean, it's pretty obvious. People on the island want the Bonner Bridge name. And I know there was this online poll that was done, and if we're making policy by online polls, we'd have elected Alan Keyes as president. I mean, it's just not how you. I don't know. It's just not how you maybe you do that as an advisory thing, but when you have someone like Commissioner Couch who gets up and says people who I represent on Hatteras Island don't want the bridge named anything other than the Bonner Bridge, then generally that's respected by other people in the governing body. So I think there's a big problem with trust from people here towards Manio, but by rescinding the resolution, unanimously passing a resolution urging the state keep the Bonner name, explaining the reasons why, that's going to go a long way towards bringing everybody together and stopping some of this disconnect. So that's really my comment here, and I hope you folks will see this very large crowd that's here. By the way, off a large extent off a Facebook boost that went up about 4 hours ago. So if I went and robocalled the island and did this for a week, we'd have like 100 people here. And I think everybody in this room knows that. I don't think there's anybody in this island who wants this bridge named the Bass Night Bridge. There's like nobody. And we would say, name it Oregon Inlet, but there's two choices: the Bass Night Bridge, the Bonner Bridge. And between the two, the consensus is pretty strong that it should be the Bonner Bridge. So thank you for your time, and I hope you guys will give that some consideration.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to speak?
Hi, my name is Rosa Alice Mayo. I am a born and bred Hatteras Islander. I was born at the Fesden Center. There used to be a hospital there. I'm as local as you get. The day John F. Kennedy died, I was coming across the Oregon Inlet on the ferry. The new bridge had not been opened yet. And it was a glorious sight that day with the sun setting, but it was total silence. I think that you do a disservice to us on many fields. But the biggest disservice is this. This is our home. Our voices need to be heard loud and clear. Remember, there's an election coming. Mr. Bateman, I met you at Connor's parking lot, and you told me that day that you would stand with Danny and help our end of the island get its fair due. I'm very disappointed in you. But there's an election coming again, fellas, and we have the right to vote you out. I think that we love our island, and I think that we have a voice that needs to be heard on a lot of issues. And I would love for you guys to come down here back at the Fesden Center where we can have a large crowd and we have the opportunity to state what we would like. I also want to state one more thing. I think Hatteras Island has unfair representation. We have one voice. Every one of your cities up there have a voice. So I think some rules maybe need to be changed and we need to have more representation for our 70 miles of beautiful island. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Brett Barley. I live here in Buxton, same road that I grew up on since I was in diapers. I haven't moved across the street from the school there. I just wanted to get up. I don't have anything prepared. I just wanted to voice my concern, as well as everyone else's, that our voices aren't being heard. It's been the sentiment amongst a lot of people around here for a long time. And as someone, I forget who mentioned it, but as someone said, there is an opportunity here. We feel like we've been ignored in this situation. We feel like our voices aren't being heard. Our wishes are not being taken care of on this instance. And there's an opportunity for you guys to right that. There's an opportunity for you guys to regain some trust that you may have lost in the last month. So I would encourage you to do so. There's thousands of people here that are in favor of keeping it Bonner. The voting that was done prior to you guys' meeting about renaming it, is the fact that you're using those polls as a backbone for your request is just sad, because you should have seen those numbers and thought that something was wrong because of the small percentage of people that voted. So I hope that you'd hear our cries down here and reason with us and level on keeping it Bonner and supporting the people of Hatteras. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Pam Smith, and I'm a resident of Hatteras Island. I live in Buxton, and I just wanted to go on record to say that I think that you as the county commissioner should listen to the people of Hatteras Island and even people north of the bridge that support leaving the bridge, the Bonner Bridge. This is a replacement bridge. It is a new bridge, but you're replacing the Bonner Bridge. So the name should remain the same. The signs should remain the same. Maps should remain the same. It's basically saving money to leave the name the same. Tourists enjoy crossing that bridge to come to Hatteras Island and to come to Ocracoke Island, and they know to cross the Bonner Bridge. Why in the world would you want to rename it? And it reminds me so much of Washington, that you don't care what we think, what we vote, how we feel. So I really wish that you would reconsider and leave the name of the bridge the Bonner Bridge. It would mean so much to the tourists as well as the residents of Hatteras Island. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Heather McDaniel. I'm married to Buddy McDaniel, who does a lot of help in the Republican Party on Hatteras Island. I also work for Dare County, and I work for the school system. And these children come over that bridge when they go on and off for ball games. These kids are going to use that bridge for a long time to come. And the one thing that I want to state is that it being a replacement bridge, I remember it always being the Bonner Bridge project. It's always been the Bonner Bridge project. And now all of a sudden we're to accept a change. I don't think we're ready for that down here. We're very thankful to have that bridge and for people to come and go. It's been a long time coming. And we thank you for the bridge. And just to reconsider, that it should stay Bonner.
Thank you.
Okay, no further comment from Buxton.
Thank you,
Chairman, with that,
County Manager. Let's put Buxton back on our screen, if you will. Can you folks see, your screen big enough to see us here on the podium?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I feel like I certainly don't need to justify my decision at the last board meeting, but I do, out of respect for those of you that are present this evening on Hatteras Island, I feel obligated, and I'm certainly willing to address your concerns. If you'll allow me to take a few minutes, there's about 8 of you who've spoken. It's about 21 or 22 of you in the room this evening. Some duplicate concerns about not listening to your voice, not caring about your voices, treating you like the stepchild, notice of not being sent out. Since I've been chairman, we have held, prior to me, never had town hall meetings. I scheduled town hall meetings in Hatteras Island. I don't know if any of you ever showed up or not, but we've had those. We've had several of them. We've had them here on Roanoke Island. About 2.5 years ago, at my request to the board, I said, our people on Hatteras Island need to be heard. We need to find a way for them to speak at public comment. And I encouraged the board that we set this up just where you're sitting this evening. It used to be at the Feddersen Center, so that we could hear your voices, so that you wouldn't have to drive all the way to Roanoke Island. So to say that we don't hear your voice, I'm very concerned about that statement and your feeling as such. Up until tonight, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, we have every single board meeting allowed this to be open for your comment period. And in those 2.5 years, we've only had 7 people show up to 5 different meetings that Dare County Board of Commissioners has had. 7 people in 5 meetings in 2.5 years. To say that we're not listening to your voices, I certainly take issue with that. We've had town hall meetings. We have no problem coming down, having additional meetings, and hearing your voice. The comment was made that we would have done better if we would have sent this out to those that are signed up on our webpage. Commissioner Bateman brought this to us the 1st of January. He was ready to make a resolution and pass that to name the bridge after Mark Bassnight. This entire board that's set up here was not willing to do that. We wanted to hear from our public. So we chose not to do that. We chose not to pass that board meeting. Instead, we looked at our public information officer and said, we need to post this on our website so that our citizens can respond to so that we can hear their voice. On January the 11th, our public information officer, and I have the piece of paperwork right here in front of me, said that the Board of Commissioners, a month later, would consider submitting a request to NCDOT for naming the bridge. It was stated that a form is now available online to enable our citizens to submit comments. This piece of paper was sent to every single, and I have the list of every single person here that signed up on our webpage, and it went out. It was said tonight that we should have made them aware of that. I believe it was you, Ms. Brindley, that said we should have done that. That was sent out. That was done. As soon as we released that, the Island Free Press that same day put out a same notice, and I have it right here in front of me. A form is now available online with www.darenc.com that enables citizens to submit comments. Click here about naming the bridge. The very same day, Outer Banks Voice, I have that as well. DARE's website is offering a survey and form where you can submit ideas and names to the backing of the person you would like to see the bridge named after. 3 days later, the Sentinel put out the same thing. I have it right here in front of me. If you're going online and you're looking at those, you had to read this, folks. The board asked Public Information Officer Dorothy Hester to post a submission from the Dare County website for citizens to use in suggesting names and agree on a plan to reaching a final decision at the board's February 4 meeting. January 23rd, right here in front, another piece of paper. The Coastland Times says the same thing. The county commissioners have placed a form on Dare County's website for anyone interested in suggesting the name for the new bridge. To say that our Board of Commissioners is disconnected and disingenuous, I certainly respectfully take issue with that. To say that Dare County, Hatteras Island residents are the stepchild, I once again take issue to that, and I repeat the fact that I, over 2.5 years ago, convinced this board to spend the money so that you folks could sit in a room like you're doing this evening and voicing your opinion. So, this board at the last meeting tallied those results, and we voted based on those results. As a result of that, we sent those findings to NCDOT, and is now up to NCDOT to take action one way or the other. So I felt like I needed to respond to your concerns. Once again, I thank each and every one of you for attending the meeting this evening and appreciate your comments. County Manager?
Mr. Chairman, that leads us to item 3 on the agenda. Item 3 on the agenda is an amendment to a resolution creating the Albemarle Commission. I'll give you a brief description. Commissioner Ross sits on the Albemarle Commission. He may want to come in and chime in, but in 2019, in January, the Albemarle Commission is asking the counties to come in and adopt the resolution that's in your packet. We have a 1997 charter that has certain rules and certain things in it. After 1997, the Albemarle Commission adopted rules and procedures and began following, and have followed them ever since. But in reviewing that, some of the rules and things that they've been doing over time aren't exactly in line with what the 1997 charter says. And so the resolution in front of you is to make those two things the same, is to amend the charter so that it follows the custom and practice of the Albemarle Commission over a number of years, to make sure those things are consistent with each other. The resolution is about 12 pages long, so I'm not going to read all of that. But it goes through and tells you what those various things are. They're mostly procedural in nature and those kind of things. But in order to make things aligned properly, then this resolution needs to be adopted by all 10 member counties. And if it is, then the charter will be amended accordingly to comply with what they practiced for a number of years. Did I say that correct, Commissioner Ross?
You did, and I was going to offer a couple of comments, if I may. If I may, yes?
Sure, yes, sir.
Okay. the county manager summarized the situation exactly correctly. What had happened over the years, if you can imagine, the charter created in 97 was inadvertently not followed to the letter as bylaws developed years later. And in looking at the two documents, our attorney, John Leidy, also attorney for the town of Nags Head, determined, oh, we've got some things that they're not substantially material, but they're inconsistent. And we ought to review the two documents and go back, look at the original charter. And the document in front of you is, in essence, a resolution that will replace the original charter. What I can summarize for you, on the first page there are a couple of whereas clauses that, again, they just sort of set up the premise for what we're doing at the Albemarle Commission. The only real changes of substance occur in Article 2. Article 2, the commission membership and governing board. Change number 1 adds a 15th member to the board. We have 14 members, 10 member counties, elected representatives such as myself, and 4 other counties at a time can elect an at-large. When the single at-large representative from each of the 4 counties completes the 2-year term, the next 4 in alphabetical order will add 4. So there will always be 10 representatives elected from each participating county in this Albemarle Commission region, and the 4 at large, which rotate. The 15th member is a non-voting seat of the immediate past president, or chair, excuse me, past chair of the Albemarle Commission. We felt that a 1-year term with the consistency of the past chair remaining would be helpful to the board. It is a non-voting position. It will still have the same 14 votes. So that was change number 1. Change number 2 in Article 2 deals with the fact that we will rotate every 2 years these at-large positions, and that they will be 2-year terms. A bylaw document indicated the at-large seats were 1-year terms, and that was inconsistent with the charter. The charter was, the charter, I believe, was a 1 year, and it was revised to be 2 years. So at-large members will now be 2 years. So there's 2 changes. We added the past prior chair, non-voting, and we made 2-year terms for the at-large members. The third deals with the composition of the board. The previous charter indicated the Albemarle Commission shall have at least 4 members who are part of a racial minority community or racial minority group. What we found was, despite many best efforts, it was very difficult to ensure 4. In other words, the board is in great shape today. An African-American woman is our chair, Tracy Johnson from Washington County. So, but we are striving to find and satisfy that. We were finding we sometimes had difficulty. So the wording has been changed to the board and the counties are encouraged to make appointments that will result in at least 4 delegates being racial minorities. So we acknowledge that is our goal, but we did not want the commission to be in technical violation of its charter if we could only arrive at 2 or 3 minority candidates on the board. And the last item deals with compensation. There's a small stipend for attending a meeting and then mileage reimbursement, because you're driving across 10 counties to these meetings. Members are reimbursed for mileage. It simply states that members will be reimbursed the stipend and mileage by the Albemarle Commission. Those are the 4 changes that are being proposed. Each of the 10-member county boards, such as us, will hear and see the exact same thing and are being asked to approve it. Once we can get all 10 counties approving it, we then have our new charter, which will be consistent with the bylaws, which will eliminate any administrative conflicts. So that sums it up.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Ross. Are you prepared to make a motion?
I am. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this new resolution amending the charter for the Albemarle Commission.
I'll second.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Ross to adopt a resolution with these changes, and it's been seconded by Commissioner House. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose a like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Commissioner Ross.
Thank you.
Chairman, item 4 on the agenda is 2 public hearings. The first public hearing is a hearing with respect to the water main extension along Leslie Lane in Avon. Ladies and gentlemen, I talked to you a moment ago about the rules for public comment. If you're here to speak with regard to the proposed water main extension along Leslie Lane, please raise your hand. When you do, I'll recognize you. And please come to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Laurel Gropper, and really I'm just coming to advocate again for the importance of getting this water line extension to Leslie Lane. I think we're one of the only roads in Avon that does not have city water. I think we all know that that's a little bit of a public health and a fire hazard. We are almost all permanent residents, so the concern about water stagnation and such, because there's a lot of temporary housing and rental housing, is not a concern on our block. Gosh, a lot of people have run temporary sort of spaghetti lines down the road to get water. We know those lines are fragile and they can break. The last thing that I brought to that is that we do know that there was a little bit of a well contamination on a house that was backing up to a gas station. So, you know, that's sort of on the public health end. We do have a fire, oh gosh, I'm forgetting what Zach is on our block.
Fire executive, yeah.
Say that again. Zach, yes. So I kind of feel like all these things are important. I don't know if there's any opposition. I think the opposition might be financial, if any. But I'm just speaking to the importance of, we've been working on trying to get this going for a long time. And I don't know the old history, but I know current time, that it is important. And if that is something that can be considered, I don't think there's opposition, and I'd like to push that forward, or ask for your encouragement to move it forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Those that are there are aware of the potential assessment involved, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have submitted petitions from everyone on the block, so everyone is alerted to it. Everyone was made aware by Ken Flatt that this hearing was taking place tonight, and that if there was opposition, this was their time to come forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. May I ask how I would know next steps forward from here?
We'll let you know once the board makes some decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let everybody know.
All right. I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else here for public comment on that issue? Anyone in Buxton for public comment on that issue?
Yes, I have one speaker, Mr. Tom Long.
Welcome, Mr. Long.
Good evening, Matt. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in this public hearing. My name is Tom Long. I'm here with my wife, Nancy. We own the house at 40184 Leslie Lane. We also own the 2 adjoining lots on either side. They're vacant. And we support the water line extension on Leslie Lane. We believe that there's several issues involved here. Number one, it's a public health issue. Clean, safe water ought to be available at the property line of any subdivision, we think. We have a well now. It's about the color of tea today. Wells are affected in that area by the numerous septic tanks that are all around us, and it's in sandy soil, by frequent flooding that brings in probably stuff from the septic tanks and who knows what else. And when we purchased the house, we were advised to not drink the water because a recent test had shown some lead was in the water. So for public health reasons, we think everybody on that street would be benefited by public water service. Also public safety. I'll just say it very briefly. It's quite ironic that we are so close to the firehouse, yet so far from a fire hydrant. Please extend the water line down Leslie Lane. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Long.
I have one additional speaker. Yes.
Hello, my name's Lou Hoover. I've been working
at trying to get a water line down Leslie Lane for the last 10 years. I've lived in Hatteras Island for 10 years now. Danny's familiar with my plight of this, dealing with Alan Burris and Mr. Ketterman at Waterworks at the time. And it just seemed like it was just a matter of getting a petition together and we would get a water line. I hope it's that simple. I don't really think anybody's, and financially, the county stuck it on us to pay for it, so I don't think there's really any problem except finding time for the water company to put the line in. So please, if that's what we're dealing with, as Laura spoke there about how do we hear about this in the future, please get back to us. Because, I mean, just a month ago, one of the local contractors was digging and almost took out 5-6 lines on one scoop. So, I mean, it is, you know, all the issues involved here. So please get back to us as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hooper.
No further comment.
With that, Mr. Chairman, we close the public hearing. I'll tell you that on this project, we sent out a letter. Ken, if you come up just to make sure I get this right. We sent out a letter earlier. There are 22 properties on there. We've got 8 in favor. We got 2 more in favor but didn't want to pay the assessment. And it says 12 no responses. That means they said, no, we don't want it, or they didn't respond.
They didn't respond, but I did get 2 phone calls within the past week that were in favor of it, so
Okay,
it's
so
more in
You
favor.
say were?
Yeah, they were in favor, yes.
So the 12 didn't respond at all, and then everything else has been favorable, correct?
Yes, correct.
If you choose to go forward with this, then the cost to a new customer would be an assessment of about $3,988. The cost to an existing customer, we have some customers that are on spaghetti lines that would have to hook up to this, would be about $1,136, correct?
It would be $1,136 for everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the $3,988 is for the...
That's for the connection fee and everything included.
And so you would then, if we did this, we would assess those people like we've done with all of our other water line extensions. And you all would then be able to decide how to make those people pay for that. You can allow them to pay for it over time, or you can make them pay for it in one lump sum. I think with the Roanoke Island water, we did it for 10 years.
10 years,
10 years, so
yeah.
This is a smaller amount, so you could do it for 10 years if you wanted to. If you approved it, if you said go forward, then we would go through the paperwork and set it all up on whatever time frame you all told us.
Okay. County Manager, I want to make sure our Hatteras Island folks are still on, that we're still connected. I'm going to make sure they're hearing this. You folks are hearing this conversation, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure they're still on. If you'll humor me, Ken, I see Ken all the time, so I don't need to see his face now. I just want to make sure our folks in Hatteras Island are hearing what we have to say. So if you'll keep that screen available for our commissioners, I appreciate it. So, County Manager, is that complete?
Yes, sir. It's in front of you to give us guidance and take action so we know how to proceed.
Well, I'm certainly prepared to move forward this evening. Is there, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make the motion, go ahead and approve the water main extension along Leslie Lane and Avon.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House to approve the proposed water line extension and authorize staff to move forward with the assessment process. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman,
wait, hold on, man. We got a second, then we'll have discussion.
I'll second.
There's a second by Commissioner Bateman.
I was going to get you to change
your
motion.
That's where I'm getting to. You're getting ahead of me.
I'm sorry.
I want to get the motion on the floor first. The floor is open for discussion. Now we want to talk with respects to, that's a lot of money at one time, so I would be willing to stretch that over a period of time to help these folks do this. Do you have a position, Commissioner House, with respects to that as far as your motion is concerned?
No, I think Bobby had mentioned, what, 10 years? Was that?
Yeah, that'd be, yes. I mean, that would be what, $390 a year?
Well, with the assessment, it's the assessed assessment is the cost of the water line installation. Then there's the connection fee, impact fee, and deposit, which is separate. There's already 11 people that are already connected to the water system on that street, so they wouldn't have to pay.
Let's try and understand what that is then. We keep going around in circles.
right.
Okay.
Let's tell us exactly what it is per
Right.
person per year.
The assessment is to cover the cost of the water line installation, excuse me, from Highway 12 to serve all the properties.
Is that the $25,000 project cost?
Yes, that would include the engineering, permitting, and construction.
So 25,000, that's a lump sum to be divided by 22 housing units on the street.
And that's the assessment.
That's
Okay.
1136.
That's 11,
Oh,
That's
that's the 1136?
That's the
Yeah.
estimated
I
1136.
read this letter 3 times. I did not know that.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's okay. So I want to be clear so our folks in Hatteras will know at least pretty close to what that amount's going to be annually if we add that 10-year period to it.
If I'm a customer, if I'm not an existing customer, my total cost with the assessment and everything will be what?
Will be the,
Is that the 3988?
that's the
number?
3988.
All right. If I'm an existing customer, my total cost with the assessment will be what?
The 1100.
Okay, so some will pay 1136 as the assessment, they don't have to pay the other fees.
Right.
The new customers will pay 3988. You have the authority, if you chose to make them, allow all of them, whether it's 3988 or 1136, to pay that over time as well. And we, in our assessment notice, we would notice the folks that are paying 1136 with one notice with that amount in it, and we would notice the folks with the 3988 with the other amount in it.
Well, I think it's important that we allow them all to be able to pay over time. That's my personal feeling. Commissioner Bateman?
Is everybody obligated to take the water?
They don't have to take the water, but they do have to pay the assessment.
Assessment.
It's a
So
per lot.
the 12 that said they didn't want to respond, because evidently they don't want the water, they're going to still have to pay the assessment.
They've got to pay the 1136 assessment, whether, if they don't want to connect, they don't have to pay the connection fees and all that stuff.
Okay.
I guess we need an amended motion. Is that correct, County Manager?
Correct. If
To
you're
pay
gonna-
overtime?
If you're going to allow them
Right.
to pay, now, let me make sure I've got this right. Ken, when we did Roanoke Island, we lumped everything together and allowed all fees over time, not just the assessment. Is that right?
No, we
No, okay.
allowed the assessment over 10 years, and then the impact fee with the Roanoke Island was waived because it was the initial subscriber.
Okay.
And then we financed some of those fees separately from the
Okay,
assessment.
and I'm assuming the number is small enough, whether we finance it or don't finance it, won't impair the
Right.
water department at all.
Right.
Okay. Commissioner House, you
Yeah,
want to amend the motion?
Yeah, I will amend it to have it paid over time over a 10-year period.
He's adding that, he's adding
That the
that to
assessment?
approve the proposed water line extension and authorize staff to move forward with assessment process to be paid over a 10-year period?
Yes, sir.
And when you say assessment, are you including also the system development fees and the other attached fees for the new customer?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And then what I would suggest is that we say that's in the first, how long, Ken? What I'm saying is somebody might not connect, and if they wait and connect 3 years from now, we're not going to give them 10 years, 3 years from now. This is for the initial subscriber, if you will, that gets the 10-year benefit. Because we don't do that for anybody else in the county.
I can see it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know whether we put 6 months or a year or whatever the time frame is, but from whenever we get the line in.
I would say, once you get the line in, I would say at least a year.
Yeah.
And that way it's,
So anyone that subscribes in the first year after we complete the project gets the benefit of the 10-year financing, and after that, they've got to pay a lump sum like anyone else that connects to our system.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else want to speak to that, Commissioner Couch?
These residents here on Leslie Lane, it's a desperate situation.
Right.
I've seen the water down there, and it's bad. And I think this is fair to, in respect to the 12 that did not respond. I think this is fair when they do respond. I think once they see the benefits of having decent water, and then also fire protection means everything. They help you on an insurance rate, that they'll come on board, and this is fair to them. If you'll remember, this is actually in our capital improvements coming up here in 2022 or 2024.
2024, yes.
Yep, and they've taken the bull by the horns, and they've got some skin in this, so I say let's support them. I like what I've heard. I support everything that I've heard up here.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Count. Anyone else? Then hearing.
I'll second the second motion.
Okay. Commissioner Bateman is seconding the revised motion. Once again, hearing no further discussion. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign. Motion carried unanimous. Thank you, folks, for attending tonight. We appreciate your comments.
Mr. Chairman, if you, just so they'll know what's going to happen next,
Yes.
if you will.
If y'all will hang tight, the county manager will tell you next steps.
What'll happen now is Ken will get the formal bids, we'll get the exact number, the $25,000 bid number, and then we'll send out an assessment. We have to come to you for an assessment resolution. We'll send out an assessment notice to all of the people. Ken will start the engineering process, and we'll get on it right away.
Yep.
How long before we have water, you reckon?
Well, it's the permitting process. We have to secure a engineer first and then an RFQ, and then the engineer has to evaluate it, and then we'll get a preliminary price, and then have to submit plans of public water supply, and that takes 6 to 8 weeks. Then you get into summer, and when you get into summer, you run into construction. Construction costs are escalated because it takes longer to get down there. You got tourists, and I don't know if you want to undertake it in the beginning of summer or not.
Let's stay on this and
Okay.
move as quickly as we possibly can.
Okay.
Can I ask another question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Ken, on the north side of Leslie Lane, there's about 10 lines running down there, and they're all over the place. When we begin construction, will the residents of Leslie Lane, will they be out of water?
No, the plan would be to run it down the south side where all the water lines aren't. And then we'll run that, and then as we get the line charged and passed inspections, then we can connect up the existing lines and shorten them up.
But one thing they do need to be aware of, we put in the distribution line to the meter, but from the meter to the house, they've got to get their plumber to do their connection, so there'll be a cost that we aren't involved with associated with that.
You folks good with that? You understand that? Thank you, folks. Appreciate y'all being here this evening and addressing the board.
Jim, that brings us to the second public hearing. This is the Kenrick Albaugh Avon zoning map amendment and C2 text amendment. Donna, if you would just briefly, for the benefit of anybody who might want to speak, tell us what this is.
Yes, sir. This is a request to amend the Avon zoning map. Mr. Albaugh submitted the request at the time we did the zoning map in 1992. We missed the fact that there was two commercial structures on Mr. Albaugh's property. He wasn't the owner at the time, but he is now. And so he discovered that and has asked for amendment to the Avon zoning map associated with the rezoning of the property and the property that's adjacent to it to make it contiguous with the properties in front of it that are C2. There's also an associated text amendment to add storage warehouses to the text of the C2 district as a conditional use. And Mr. Albaugh is here this evening, and then if we have any speakers, I'll sit down and answer any questions that you may have.
With that explanation, is there anyone here that would like to speak at the public hearing? Seeing no hands here, is there anyone in Buxton would like to speak to this issue?
No comment from Buxton.
With that, Mr. Chairman, we close the public hearing, and what's the pleasure of the board?
What's the pleasure of the board? Commissioner Couch?
Yes, sir. I move that the Avon zoning map be revised to apply C2 commercial zoning to 441 Brinkley Lane and 400 4054 Watson Lane, and to add stores, warehouses to the list of conditional uses in the C2 district. That's my motion.
I'll second
Then
it.
it- No, there's one more sentence.
There's one more sentence
With
there.
your findings.
The findings,
Okay,
findings of consistency adopted as part of the motion.
all right, thank you, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Couch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner House. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign? Motion carries unanimous.
So that brings us to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you have the approval of the minutes from February 4th. You have a budget amendment for the NCDOT reimbursement for the Kitty Hawk Bridge waterline relocation. You have appointment to the Firefighters Relief Fund board member for the Buxton Volunteer Fire Department. A budget amendment for the Hatteras Inlet 2-year maintenance project and the tax collector's report.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by Commissioner Bateman. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner House?
Ross.
Oh, Ross, excuse me. I heard the voice, but I didn't look that way. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
That'd be your agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, County Manager. That brings us to item 6, and that is Commissioner business, County Manager business. Commissioner Bateman, would you kick this off for us this evening?
I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would, yeah, I'm sorry. I was approached by a couple of citizens and as well as a commissioner from Kildare Hills talking about did we want to possibly do a resolution against the insurance rate hikes?
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Bateman. There is another scheduled public hearing Tuesday of next week in Raleigh. And it's concerning the rate increase for personal dwellings. Year after year, we face this constantly with rather substantial rate increases. Our board in the past has certainly done resolutions in opposition to the rate itself, and I would certainly be in favor of supporting a resolution sent in opposition to that rate increase. I had talked to Willa Kelly at the Community Foundation meeting this at lunch, and I thought perhaps she might be able to be here this evening to speak in more detail with it, but she wasn't able to attend. But I'm certainly prepared to support a resolution if it's the wishes of the board to do so.
I would, yes.
So, do you want to make that in the form of a motion, Commissioner?
I will make a motion that we send the resolution in opposition to the rate hike.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. It's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bateman, and it's been seconded by Commissioner House. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. County Clerk, it's similar to very ones we've done in the past, and we can get together and discuss it. So, thank you. Commissioner Couch.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything. I appreciate your comments about that really was a special day across there on the bridge. And my thanks to the DOT for, that was a little unusual and going kind of outside the realm of their experience and allowing something like that to happen. And also to PCL, they deserve a big thanks as well for allowing that to happen. They essentially gave some workers a day off to accommodate the home folks on that. And I want to give a big shout out to PCL and DOT as well. It was a great day. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ross?
Thank you. Just a couple of items. I appreciate everybody's support on the new Albemarle charter, Albemarle Commission charter. That will clean up a lot of administrative clerical issues that we've been messing around with rather than dealing with more the meat of what the commission is there for. Number two, Mike Flynn, who is part of our coastal representation, will be speaking at a forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters on February 27th from 7 to 8 p.m. at the Kill Devil Hills community building there, the administrative building, and it will be dealing with an offshore drilling question and answer and presentation by Mike, advocating for no drilling and expressing some of the major concerns relative to our way of life, our coastal health as a community, and I plan to attend and see Mike. Following that, later in the spring will become a visit here by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, similar to what was held in Raleigh about a year and a half ago, and that also should be interesting. Lastly, there will be mostly a 3/4 of a day long event dealing with best practices in handling dementia patients, those that suffer from memory loss, as well as their caregivers. It will be hosted and directed by a best practices expert, a Ms. Teepa Snow. It's at Duckwoods Country Club on March the 5th. I plan to attend, and I saw Ms. Gail Sinesso today at the luncheon with the Outer Banks Community Foundation, and she's very, very excited about this and is continuing to drive awareness and improve conditions for both caregivers and patients. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, go ahead.
Rob, where is Mike Flynn speaking at?
Kill Devil Hills, 7 to 8.
And where?
Kill Devil
Devil
Hills.
Where?
They're-
At the town hall?
Town hall.
At Town Hall, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Royce. I will be at that meeting as well. As a matter of fact, I'm on that agenda as well.
Yes, I saw that you were speaking to this.
So you better be there.
I know, better be there.
No,
Commissioner House.
27.
We got a couple things. Number one, we do have another state champion from Dare County, Miss Heidi Sabatini. She's the daughter of Mark and Amy Sabatini of Kitty Hawk. She competed, she's actually a senior at First Flight High School. She competed in the state championships in track and field, Division 1A, 2A, high jump champion, state champion. And I wanted to recognize her as an outstanding student and athlete. And she's done an exceptional job in representing Dare County at the state level. I did have, I was able to attend the funeral and memorial for Congressman Walter Jones. I can tell you it was a beautiful service, well deserving of a statesman. A lot of the speakers there were personal friends and some of his colleagues as well. In attendance were, as I said, many of his friends and family. Also, a good representation of municipal and county government officials were there. There were quite a few North Carolina House representatives and North Carolina Senate representatives there as well, with approximately 200 of our U.S. congressmen and U.S. senators there in attendance as well. Governor Cooper was there and gave part of the eulogy of his remembrance of Walter. And I can definitely tell you that Walter Jones was a man of integrity and well loved in Eastern North Carolina. And most of all, he will be remembered and he will be missed. And may God rest him. On a more cheerful note, we have our pet of the week. Cinnamon is a 2-year-old cat, and she is this week's is also a National Adoption Weekend. So if you want to celebrate the weekend of adoption for our lost and wanting new homes for our animals here in Dare County, please go to the OBX SPCA and check them all out. And now here is Cinnamon.
Our pet of the week for this week is Cinnamon. This 2-year-old sweet but sassy diva wants to be your one and only pet. She has long hair and beautiful bright green eyes. Cinnamon loves to be pet, but just like any diva, enjoys her alone time as well. To adopt Cinnamon or foster one of our other animals, you can come visit us Monday through Saturday at our shelter located in Manio. Join us this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the PetSmart in Nags Head for National Adoption Weekend. We'll be on site with some of our adoptable furry friends that are looking for their forever homes. For more information, visit our website at www.obxspca.org or visit our OBX SPCA Facebook page.
And Cinnamon is too cute to be in our adoption program, so please give her a home. She's well deserving of one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Always enjoy those each month. So that brings us to county manager's business.
Mr. Chairman, I have several things, and I apologize, but these all came in like on Thursday and Friday of last week, so we need to deal with them. The first is I've got a letter from Barry Hobbs from the North Carolina Department of Transportation with respect to the drainage study that they're doing on the north end. They're asking us to enter into the agreement and agree to pay the $28,000, which is our share of that cost. Our first reaction to that was, oh my God, they're just starting. And I called and they said, no, we've already started. We gave them notice to proceed a while back. We're just getting the paperwork together so that when we get the invoice, we can pay them. I did ask them for a timeline so that the people would know what was going on, and I got that today. The timeline is, as we go through this, they have already done their kickoff meeting, they've done their electronic data collection, they've done their site visits and field reconnaissance, and they've done their 1D and 2D existing conditions models. By next week, they will have done the existing condition calibration runs. By the middle of March, they will have done another design storm model run. And then there are several design concepts and analysis and model runs of those various design concepts that'll be done in April and May. This says they'll have their draft report prepared by June, early June, and the final report that completes the project by early July. So that's the schedule that they're on from the engineers. What we need tonight is you to authorize me to enter into the drainage study agreement and authorize the appropriate budget amendments that we need to pay those sums under that agreement.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner House. Any further discussion? Commissioner Couch.
Bobby, Mr. Chairman, how are we going to let, is there a way to let these people know what our timeline is? Are we going to be posting this anywhere, or?
I get constant emails from them, so I'll definitely do that. I am, Commissioner Couch, I am somewhat disappointed that it is this long. We had hoped to have something final by the end of March.
Right.
And I am a little disappointed, but it is what it is. But I've been in constant contact via email with the chair of that homeowners association and working with them. And I plan on going to the next board meeting that they have.
Okay, all right, I was unaware that they had a HOA over there.
Yeah.
Good. Let the chair disseminate it.
Yeah.
Next.
Wait a minute, we got to vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Those in favor then of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Next, we have a budget amendment for dredge permitting. We have been working, we had scheduled to have Ken Wilson do the work for the Oregon Inlet permitting for the new dredge. We asked for a Shallow Draft Inlet grant for that, and finally we got that approved. I need authority to enter in a budget amendment to one budget in the revenue of $62,000, $62,452, and then to budget the expenditure of $94,625 up to $94,625 for the permitting, 32 of which would come out of our inlet maintenance fund, and the balance would come out of that $62,000 grant.
Okay, pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner House to approve the budget amendment for environmental permitting for the special purpose dredging grant. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Couch. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Similarly, down on Hatteras Island, we had our dredging project was completed earlier, and so far it seems to have held up. We're doing another survey down there, I think as early as next week, to see where it's going. Ken Wilson and the Corps would like to go ahead and start the spring dredging project at the end of March-ish or middle of March so that we avoid the windows at the end of the year. If we're going to do that, I need authority to move the balance of the fund in the up to the balance of the fund in the Hatteras project. That's 113.6 is what we have left in there. Up to that is our share of the dredge project there, and we'll, as they do the surveys and get the exact numbers, then we'll make whatever that is, but it won't exceed the balance in that fund.
Are these all new items, Bobby, that kind of come in over the transom? It seems like these could be long foreseeable, and they seem to hit your desk, you know, right before the meeting. I'm just puzzled by it.
The question on all of these was, do we wait until March 4th? If we do, then everybody's sitting still on.
Yeah, and I'm not,
another 2 weeks.
and I'm not trying to. It just seems like this was very long foreseeable, I would have thought. We knew this.
The one with the budget amendment we just did, we've been working on trying to get it since like October. I mean, so.
Right.
I'm still learning the workings of government, I guess.
And this one here just came out of the waterways.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's, in that respect, the last one here is timely. I move that we go ahead and authorize.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner House. Second. Second by Commissioner Bateman. Couch made the motion.
Couch.
Huh?
Couched. Couch. That's when Steve and I work together.
Couch. I was wondering what he was coming up with. And Commissioner Bateman, second.
Bad joke.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And then in Kill Devil Hills, I don't know if you've been by there, but in front of their fire station, they're digging everything up in there. They're getting ready to put in a new water tank and all that. There's a water line that runs from the bypass back to that tank in the back there. It's our water line. They want it lowered. We don't want to lower it because it's going to create all kinds of problems. So we said, if you want it lowered, we'll give you the line. You be responsible for it. You lower it, do whatever you want to, and our responsibility stops at the street. They've agreed to that, and I need your permission to do that in an MOU so that we can put that responsibility on the town of Kill Devil Hills, which would be a good thing for us because it's like 15 feet deep.
Right.
So,
I'll approve it.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner House. Is there a second? Commissioner Bateman, any further discussion?
I'm just curious, if there were complications potentially of doing so, but they were readily willing to absorb those complications? Okay.
There's a big drainage culvert there that they've got to go under, and that means they've got to lower that line 14 or 15 feet. And for us, that's a huge undertaking. If you had a line break, we didn't want to accept that responsibility. They said they didn't have a choice. They would accept it. We said, great, we'll give you the line.
Okay.
That's it, baby. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And the last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, I want to.
Was he trying to set a record?
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I want to
Moving
commend
right along.
publicly, and for you all, an employee. We have an employee over at Public Works named Nat Burton. Nat worked over on a weekend in our yard in Manio, and we had one of our citizens come in bringing a load of stuff in there to dump in the yard and locked his keys in the car and was scrambling around trying to figure out what he was going to do, how he was going to handle it. And our employee, Nat Burton, gave him his own personal car keys, allowed the citizen to take his car home, to go home and get some more keys to come back. And when they asked Nat for a ride, he said, I can't give you a ride because I can't leave it unmanned and I need to be here, but here, you take my keys and take my car. So our people are doing good things and doing the right things, and I wanted to make you all aware. I've let him know how much we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Nat's the man.
Yeah, great. Great stuff.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, County Manager. Dorothy Hester, our Public Information Officer, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. I don't have any business to report this evening.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Dave, you've changed your hairstyle, and you've added a set of glasses a little bit differently. We have Sally sitting in for She's our our Assistant Director of Finance. Sally, do you have anything for the board this evening?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, that completes our meeting, and is there a motion to adjourn until 9 a.m. on March the 4th?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner House, seconded by Commissioner Bateman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous.